The cosmetic condition of most of the specimens does not raise any questions, although it is worth recognizing that the body paintwork is traditionally thin and soft for modern Korean-made cars, which is why it does not resist the hardships of everyday use, quickly overgrown with chips and scratches. Worst of all, the solution with the durability of the paintwork is in the area of U200B, U200B the edge above the windshield. In the places of chips, paint can swell after a while. Fortunately, the manufacturer recognizes such cases as a warranty. There are no significant problems with the corrosion resistance of the body. However, it is difficult to call the corrosion protection of the body of high quality, since mesh rooms appear quite quickly in open areas of the metal. But chrome body elements do not last long, so you need to be prepared for their frequent replacement. They lose their presentable appearance after 2-3 winters. The tailgate opening buttons and the rear view camera are poorly protected from moisture and dirt. As a result, their service life is significantly reduced. Contacts are oxidized. Quite quickly, daytime running lights also fail, in which, due to overheating, the resistor of the DRL control module is soldered. The most common ailment is observed in cars manufactured between 2012 and 2014. Also problematic are the drive for opening the gas tank hatch and the keyless entry buttons on the doors. They jam over time, and the short service life of the door opening limiters. In expensive modifications, the reason for the headache is the panoramic roof, which, when driving over bumps, can make unpleasant sounds. In addition, it is worth noting the high cost of restoring the panorama in case of damage, up to 1000 USD. Both axles use independent suspension with the McPherson strut at the front and the multi-link design at the rear. Like any other machines, the life of the chassis is highly dependent on operating conditions. In addition to the bushings and stabilizer struts, they run 40–60,000 kilometers. The weak points of the chassis include thrust and front wheel bearings, which often do not nurse even 100,000 kilometers. Replacing wheel bearings is a costly business, since they change an assembly with the hub, plus for work it is necessary to disassemble most the entire suspension. Suspension struts and ball bearings serve 100–150,000 kilometers. Silent blocks of the front levers can last 140–160,000 kilometers. Among the shortcomings of the rear axle, it is worth noting the tendency of breakaway bolts to souring. Therefore, at each maintenance they must be lubricated, otherwise you will have to use a grinder to adjust the angle of the wheels. The breakaway levers are also attached to them. The rubber metal parts of the multi-link need to be updated every 100–150,000 kilometers. The steering system uses a rack and pinion mechanism with electric power steering. Raika can start to bother with extraneous sounds early enough, knocking after 50,000 kilometers. Initially, the manufacturer recognized the defect as warranty, but later attributed it to a design feature. It is often possible to eliminate extraneous sounds in the rail by adding lubricant to the rail. If this does not help, you will have to send the rail for repair or change it. The presence of backlash and extraneous sounds when rocking the steering wheel from side to side indicates the need to tighten the splines connection of the column near the pedal assembly. Also, knocking in the steering wheel can be caused by severe wear of the fixable steering column couplings 563-152-K000FFF. It is worth noting that to replace it, you need to remove the steering wheel and disassemble the steering column trim. The electronic control unit of the electric amplifier may also fail. The malfunction is manifested by a belated reaction to turn the steering wheel. Reflection is required, in rare cases, shaft replacement. Steering consumables are not reliable either. The tips rarely nurse more than 100,000 kilometers. In the braking system, the parking brake delivers the most problems. Over time, the pads fall off, hidden in the disc. With the rare use of the handbrake, its mechanism corrodes and loses its mobility. For cars with an electric handbrake and heavily worn pads, due to strong tightening when the rear wheels are blocked, the threaded rod leaves the working range. As a result, it will not be possible to unlock the wheels in a regular way. It is necessary to dismantle the block. In order not to be in an awkward situation at the most inopportune moment, it is necessary to monitor the condition of the brake pads and adjust them as they wear. The interior of the Hyundai Santa Fe 3 is dominated by high-quality finishing materials. Most of the torpedoes and door cards are made of soft plastic. The seats are upholstered in high-quality fabric and in expensive trim levels, natural perforated leather. But the ergonomics in the cabin has become noticeably worse than before. The center console is no longer focused on the driver. Of the weak points here, it is worth highlighting the weak wear resistance of the leather sheath of the steering wheel. Already by 100,000 kilometers, it has significant abrasions. No other massive problems have yet been identified, except that some owners blame the appearance of extraneous sounds from the luggage compartment in winter. But the electrical equipment of the car can cause more problems. Most often, the MTXT900 DM multimedia system, in which the processor and memory is not reliable, is annoying with failures. The disease is eliminated by soldering the board or replacing the head unit. There are also complaints about the quality of the connectors of the air conditioner pipes. They let freon through. Also, the block of buttons for the electric drive of the driver's seats, parking sensors, and the rear view camera do not differ in reliability. For Hyundai Santa Fe 3, a wide range of power units was provided. Atmospheric 2.4, MPI 175/171 horsepower G4KE, and 3.3, 249 and 271 horsepower D6DF, 2.4, GDI 188 and 192 horsepower G4KJ installed on cars from the USA, and turbocharged 2.0, 265 horsepower G4KH. Diesel engines of 2.2 liters, 197/200 horsepower D4HB, and 2.0, 150 and 184 horsepower D4HA were also provided. The most common 2.4 atmospheric engine in the CIS markets is also considered one of the most problematic. The main ailments of the motor are the crankshaft of the liners and the appearance of scoring in the third and fourth cylinders on a run of 50 to 150,000 kilometers. Most often, owners of pre-standing cars face these troubles. The problem began to appear less frequently after the engine was upgraded in 2015. The manufacturer installed a different oil pump and increased the sump. Another reason for the early capitalization of the engine can be a catalyst. When destroyed, it dust into the cylinders, a resource of about 150,000 kilometers. Of the less significant drawbacks, it is worth highlighting the increased noise, the vibration load of the unit, and the tendency of the throttle assembly to coke. The idle speed starts to float. Also, the ignition coils, the phase regulator, and the bearing of the air conditioning compressor do not differ in reliability. On cars with high mileage, a slight increase in oil consumption is observed. If the engine passes the problem with scuffing, its resource will be about 350–400,000 kilometers. The main source of direct injection engines, 2.4, GDI, and 2.0, is considered to be cranking of the connection rod bearings, followed by jamming of the internal combustion engine. As a rule, the disease manifests itself after 80–100,000 km, and its main cause is the use of low-quality material. Another of the mass problems is to highlight the tendency of the unit and the throttle to cocking. Also, the high-pressure fuel pump, the timing chain, stretches, and balancer shaft brakes do not differ in reliability. They serve 100–150,000 km. In a 2-liter internal combustion engine, the phase regulator quickly becomes unusable. Since these motors do not have hydraulic lifters, at least once every 100,000 km, it is necessary to adjust the thermal clearances of the valves. Another disadvantage of the units is the high cost of maintenance and repair. The V-shaped 3.3-liter ICE was installed only on the Grand Santa Fe. Its main disadvantage is considered to be an increased oil appetite, appears after 100,000 km, which progresses with age due to the tendency of valves, piston, and rings to form carbon deposits. If you do not carry out periodic decarbonization every 50,000 km, everything will end with the rotation of the liners and the death of the cylinder piston group. Another significant cost item will be the adjustment of valve clearances. It is necessary to carry out every 100,000 km, of which there are 12 pieces for each half of the motor. The main source of trouble for diesel internal combustion engines is the high-pressure pump. The rotating parts are made of a stronger material than the body. Because of this, the stationary parts wear out intensively, contaminating expensive piezo injectors with metal chips. Incorrect replacement of the fuel filter can also accelerate the wear of the high-pressure fuel pump. After installation, you need to pump fuel using a dealer scanner. Another reason for the early failure of the fuel equipment is the use of low-quality diesel fuel. If the injectors are very dirty, the engine starts to triple. The timing drive is driven by a reliable metal chain, but a set of its rollers and dampers can become unusable after 150,000 kilometers. Often the cause of rumbling in the timing chain area is severe contamination of the hydraulic tensioner channel. Cleaning is required. After 100–150,000 kilometers, it may be necessary to replace the crankshaft damper pulley. In press-styling cars, the head gasket breaks through at the same mileage. The EGR valve does not differ in survivability in our realities, it freezes due to salt accumulation. In addition, the valve is the main reason for the rapid contamination of the intake and throttle. To avoid problems, many owners turn off the valve, after which the ECU needs to be flashed. The turbine, with proper operation, takes care of up to 300,000 kilometers. After a long trip, it is necessary to let the supercharger cool down before turning off the engine, and abrupt starts on a cold internal combustion engine should also be avoided. Among the shortcomings of the turbine, the unreliability of the boost pressure sensor installed in the intake manifold and the oil supply pipe flowing can be noted. It is also worth highlighting the tendency to souring of the rod that turns the turbine stator blades. Symptoms: the pipe flies during regassing. WD-40 helps to return the stock of working capacity. Other disadvantages include increased oil consumption during dynamic driving, 0.5 liters per 1000 km, and the short service life of the particulate filter. If there are jerks during acceleration, it will not be superfluous to check the condition of the filter in the tank, it clogs quickly. The appearance of problems with starting in the cold season, as a rule, is caused by poor contact of the tire connection, the glow plugs, and the wire. In rare cases, an EMS block is the cause. Transmission. For this model, two 6-speed manual gearboxes M6GF and M6LF and an automatic A6LF2/3 with the same number of speeds were provided. Manual transmissions are very reliable and most problems are usually caused by high mileage. The first, as a rule, are the oil seals of the axle shafts and the input shaft. On a run of 200,000 plus, you need to be prepared to replace the bearing of the right axle shaft, vibrations appear, and gear selection synchronizers. Clutch with moderate loss can withstand up to 150,000 kilometers. It is also worth noting the need to replace the dual mesh flywheel on a run of 150 to 100,000 kilometers. The original is about 1,500 USD, the analog will cost from $500 US. To reduce the cost of repairs, some owners install a single mesh flywheel, which leads to a significant reduction in the life of the clutch and its slave cylinder, the replacement of which can hardly be called a budget one. The reliability of an automatic transmission depends largely on the cleanliness of the oil and driving style. If the automatic transmission is regularly serviced, replacement of lubricants and filters every 40–50,000 kilometers, overheating and sudden starts are avoided, significant problems up to 250,000 kilometers should be expected from it. The operation of the box on dirty oil primarily affects the resource of the solenoids and the valve body, which already by 100,000 km are significantly clogged with friction wear products. The unsatisfactory condition of the valve body, in turn, negatively affects the service life of the clutch and brake pads, the pump and the box as a whole. At the initial stage, it is possible to restore the operability of the machine by cleaning both the hydraulic plates, solenoids, and replacing the torque converter consumables. In advanced cases, you will have to sort out half the box. With an aggressive driving style, the torque converter clutches, the rear cover, the seat wears out with a Teflon ring, and the overdrive drum quickly give up. It should also be noted a fragile plastic pallet often suffers from off-road lovers, differential case splines, which can be cut off during prolonged sleeping. Symptoms of spline wear are a crunching sound when driving. In case of overheating, as a rule, the sensors built into the gearbox are the first to give up. On cars of the first years, there were defective units with poorly tightened central gear bolts, which eventually unscrewed and turned the inside of the machine into mincemeat. A signal of an approaching trouble will be jerks when reversing. Four-wheel drive. In the all-wheel drive version of the Hyundai Santa Fe 3, a multi-plate clutch with electro-hydraulic blocking manufactured by the Austrian company Magna is used. The presence of the AWD Dynamax all-wheel drive system allows the car to confidently overcome sandy and snowy roads, however, it is still not worth considering this car as a full-fledged CUV. The fact is that the clutch is not adapted to significant loads and quickly overheats. Also, with prolonged slippage in the clutch, it can cut off the sleeve. With the hard connection of the rear axle when acceleration on ice, the clutch basket can be turned off the shaft. In addition, over time, the lubricant in the clutch cokes, as a result of which the clutch frictions begin to wedge. Symptoms: jerks appear when driving with the steering wheel turned out. To eliminate the disease, it is necessary to clean and troubleshoot the assembly. To protect yourself from additional costs, renew the lubricant in the clutch every 50,000 kilometers. After 100,000 km, you have to change the outboard bearing of the drive shaft, it starts to make noise. Spline connections of the intermediate shaft and transfer cases with a differential are considered quite problematic, often they give up without having served even 100,000 km. The reason for the rapid wear of the splines is the appearance of corrosion due to non-tightness of the joints, and thus does not protect the assembly from moisture well. Also, due to corrosion, the differential cap may come off. To extend the life of the splines, it is necessary to periodically change the anthers and lubricate problem areas. On cars manufactured before 2013, the rear differential case can add a headache in brakes on a run of 100–150,000 km. Replacing a defective node will cost $1,000–1,500 USD. Hyundai Santa Fe 3 is a beautiful, large and comfortable crossover that will undoubtedly become the pride of any car enthusiast. However, in the absence of high quality and timely service, the cost of its restoration will be very high. The best option for buying a Hyundai Santa Fe, Grand Santa Fe DM in the secondary market are restyled versions of the car, since most of the source of the model have already been eliminated in them. If you are the owner of this car model, please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your review that will help readers of our site when choosing a car.